Hi everyone, this is Jim Tolles. I'm a spiritual teacher and I blog regularly at spiritualawakeningprocess.com. And today I want to talk about sleep issues in spiritual awakening. I know there's a lot of things out there always talking about signs and symptoms of spiritual awakening. And I'm always very careful about how I talk about this because of awakening at its core, it's about falling into that space of love and oneness and that space that abides. So it doesn't just kind of come and go. And what moves from that space is often what people get kind of lost in because all sorts of external things change, and that since everybody's used to focusing on the external world, they start to assume that if anything external happens, that this is the big spiritual awakening. And external things happen all the time. So like especially with sleep issues, maybe there's some sort of issue with insomnia that has nothing to do with the spiritual stuff that you've been doing in your life. And I like to kind of lean towards that because so much of people's egoic training is to constantly blame the external world or to find these other reasons something's going on and to create these whole identities and structures around this sort of a thing. And so people do this with what they think is spiritual awakening, which maybe they just had like some just really nice spiritual experience and then they couldn't sleep the next night. So you had a Kundalini yoga practice. It moves a lot of energy. And so the next day you're just like, wow, I couldn't sleep last night. I'm having awakening. And maybe it just kind of kept going because the Kundalini energy just started moving, right? Because that's what that practice does. A lot of people don't understand what that practice is. They just think it's a feel-good feeling. But it really is, one of those ways that we can start to excite the energy to encourage that opening, that bursting forth and that sprouting of that awakened awareness. So, some things may start moving. There's all types of spiritual experiences out there, not just awakening. And because people are so ill-informed about this, and this is not, other people's faults, it's just the way our society's grown up, that we haven't focused on spirituality in this way, and we've buried a lot of that knowledge. There are many types of spiritual experiences. But in the case of awakening, when that awakened self comes forth, arises, and there is this abiding sense of love, awareness, you can see the truth in the reality, what's going on. There can be a complete loss of desire at times. And it doesn't mean that people are always feeling that way, but it's that sense that it's still there. That even when people are acting badly, and I've seen some really stupid things done by people who are awakened, and they know it too on a certain level because that space is still there. There's kind of that sense of differential, that there's these two pieces for a while, and then there's this kind of blending together that happens as you move into oneness in that conscious way. And so sleep can be kind of really jarred. So people may not be sleeping well at night, or they may have so much energy pumping through them that they can't get to sleep, and they just feel like they sit there and stare at the ceiling all night. I think mainly what I have to say is to just be okay with it. To not try to fight it. Don't try to get upset about it. Don't build a new story on top of it. I don't really have great examples of ways to sleep better at night because when this energy runs, it's just kind of doing what it needs to do. I can tell you that I think meditation can be, sort of the elixir of life because I went through a time period in my own shift where a lot of stuff was moving and I could get to sleep, but it didn't feel like I was sleeping. It felt like my subconscious was still going through the process that I was going through in my waking. So this is when I talk about the awareness abides, this is kind of what I'm talking about. Like I could go to sleep, I could be awake, and that awareness was still there and it was still kind of running, and that energy was doing what it needed to do, which isn't even a doing. Like I don't want you to think too much about, well, what is it doing? And it's now making me better or that sort of thing. It's tearing away anything that is not you. A lot of times I like the metaphor of the iceberg because that's a little even better because it's not getting rid of anything, it's just melting that iceberg's that solid frozen way you've viewed your life and how it should be, and you've looked through that lens which is distorted so you don't see life clearly, and then the ocean of consciousness that is you melts that away. And so it's an embracing and a releasing and that dissolving. And so sleep issues can be very common. As I said, the two things that I know about is a lot of subconscious work in your dreams. And so it's just like, it can be like you're reviewing your whole life. It's just kind of flowing through really, really fast. Or it can just be like very different things coming up, but it's an emotional feel that feels familiar, that you're kind of reviewing emotions. Because every part of us is understanding this. And really, if you're waking up really, really tired like I was, I encourage you to stop and sit and have a meditation. And I've needed my half-hour meditations for several years just to feel like I slept. That's actually where I felt like I slept and I got my rest. And that eventually that phase passed. Like for me, that was a long phase of so much stuff was being worked out on that subconscious and the dream level. And it wasn't like lucid dreaming, I've done some of that, but lucid dreaming, like I feel like people get into control. It's like, oh, I can control my dreams now and can go and do these different things. And it's different than out-of-body experiences that some people get when they go to sleep. They actually, some people have very, very thin veil of illusion around this. And so they can kind of step through that veil and just leave the body because the body is an illusion. And some people will really get that in awakening. It's like, oh, this is just made up too. It's all made up. So if it's made up, I can do something else whenever I want to. So I think the first thing really is don't worry if you have sleep issues. I think there's a lot of ways where you have to find ways to accept this into your life, to accept that you've awakened. So in embracing that, that will require changes at times. So it may mean you have to get up a little bit earlier to meditate, ironically helping you to feel like you slept more. And at night, don't amp up your energy more than is necessary. So if you're doing lots of meditations or yoga or Kundalini yoga, which is very different than yoga, it really is this whole other thing, or whatever you're doing at that time, that's just going to build up even more energy. So it's going to have your energy flying, and just going like crazy as you try to go to bed. And so don't do it then. I mean, you can do whatever you want, whenever you want. As I always say, what I offer is a suggestion, and I want you to find what resonates from my words. This is what you should do with everything in your life. That's how you find truth. But my experience is like doing that sort of energetic stuff, it's just going to keep you churning more and more. And you're going to notice different cycles. So there are different cycles throughout your day where you need more rest or you're more active. And so you start to tune into that. So in many respects, the sleep can also be a reflection of the need to tune into your cycles of life. It's like when you need rest and when you need to be more alert and when's a good time to do things. And I certainly have times when I'm more active, more able to do things, and other times when I rest. And we're breaking apart any ideas about how we should be living our life. And that's usually what's gummed everybody up as we got into these ideas. This is how we work, right? We work from 9 to 5, and we eat at these times, and we sleep at these times. And we're trying to enforce certain structures onto ourselves that don't necessarily work. And this could apply for anyone. It doesn't mean you're on awakening. To let go of some of these structures, to listen more closely to your body can be very helpful. And that's really kind of ultimately the thing with any sort of sleep issues, is listen to your body. See what it really needs and honor that. And then in that space of creating more self-care and nourishing yourself, it'll help you kind of move through that phase. But as I said, I don't really have a way to get you around it. It's just still something you kind of have to go through. Embrace any lessons as you come up if your dreams are particularly vivid. And if that's one way that you're learning through your process, because some people have more trouble learning in their conscious mind because the ego is still very active, then start a dream journal. And be like, okay, so what's going on in my sleep? What's disturbing my sleep here? Is there something I need to know that a part of me is trying to tell me that I haven't been able to receive yet? So that may be a way to help alleviate some of those things. So those are kind of the tips that I have. Meditate in the morning if you feel like you're not getting rest at night. If anything's super, super serious, definitely check in with a doctor or something, or a naturopathic doctor, and explore your different options if there's something really out of balance or if there's something that's actually physically happening. For me, it was never that way, and I was actually pretty clear about that. And always ask your inner knowing, what is arising for me here, and just listen to that first answer that comes. And I use inner knowing and intuition synonymously, and if you want to know more about intuition, I have another video up that's called What is Intuition? So I hope this is all right and is helpful to you in your path. And I just encourage you to not worry too much about the sleep stuff and just do what you need to do to help with your own self-care so you can make this an easy transition as you continue to let go and to open to the space of awakened awareness. Once again, my name is Jim Tools, and I hope you're having a beautiful day. Take care.